You know what, Violet? I was going to talk about it. It's in my notes, and I'm so glad that you're here. Violet Shakune did a great review of The Breakfast Club. Now, if you follow me, you know I don't like The Breakfast Club because I think they are the worst of black people. They just bring out the lowest low, the low of black people. Well, for a while, and Violet did a wonderful, asked some great questions. One of the hosts of the Breakfast Club has been very uninviting, unhospitable to people who are her ideological adversaries. And I forgot how to pronounce her name, and I'm not going to waste my time talking about it. However, when Vivek was on, when other Larry Elder was on, she was just out of pocket. She was so rude, so disrespectful. And I mean, I'm saying that in the most kind way possible. She was terrible. She was horrible. However, recently she sat down and talked with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the Breakfast Club as well. And her behavior and attitude was totally different. And I just thought it was interesting. And Violet Teslin is her name. Okay. Violet did a great job of pointing that out. Like, why is it that she's speaking so differently? You would almost think it's a tale of two Teslins, because when Vivek and Larry Elder were on, both of them are men of color. She was very rude and disrespectful to them, very condescending, asking the most out-of-pocket questions possible. But then when Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a white man, was on, she treated him totally different. What's going on? What happened? Where was all that negative energy for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? I'm just wondering. And I mean, the questions were high tier and the whole nine. It was just really interesting. Now, I know that the Breakfast Club is another one that loves to hit you with that copyright strike. So if I can get that on there, if I can destroy that video, I might bring it on just so we can look at it, because I think it was interesting. But Violet, if you please check out Violet. If you're not already following Brian Babe's podcast, check her out. Great channel, excellent commentary. Highly recommend. Let her know Dear Woke Christian sent you. So check her out. Because she was enamored with Kennedy, with the Kennedy idolatry. Okay, then let that be known. Let that be said. I got no problem with it. Because I did forget that. You know what, Future? Put a D after your name and see what happens. You're right. I totally forgot about that. But I mean, it goes to show that these people are not genuine. Your interests are not organic. Your interests are based purely on your ideological views. And that's unfortunate, because it doesn't make you look like you're a fair dealer. It doesn't make you look like somebody that people can say, hey, I'm going to get some fair questions. I'm going to get treated the same way that your political comrades get treated. Oh, no. I know that you're going to treat me differently than your political comrades because I am ideologically adverse to you. And that's not a good look. I try my best to treat people here, even on this channel. You can disagree with me. I try not to be terrible. Sometimes I have been. I got to work on that too. But for the most part, I'm not trying to berate you. I'm going to read them dusty comments, though. When you get them dusty comments, they are going to get the dust blown off of them up in here. Now, that's going to happen. But for the most part, I'm trying to be fair to you. But so that's that, everybody. Let's this week I'd probably do another live, just a mic check, because I got a couple more things to move around here in the desk, and then I think I'll feel comfortable saying that it's good to go. And because my desk is not clean today. I don't like that. Y'all know me. I like my desk clean. I'm a minimalist, and this desk is not minimal at the moment. It is very unminimal, but we'll just keep it going. So I'll hopefully do that Monday or Tuesday. Tomorrow's Labor Day, so I might do a little live just to go and talk about it real quick. And then on Thursday, I'm going to try to do a live stream from the studio at the ribbon cutting. Maybe I'll do a live ribbon cutting. That should be fun. I got to work on that. Yeah. I might have to have the Whitaker Talk Show in the house to help me out. And then after that, next weekend, Lord willing, we'll do another live. another Sunday wrap up, all that kind of good fun stuff as we round in the bases for the year. This year has gone fast, man. How in the world are y'all talking about comic books? How are y'all doing that? You all are the best. I tell you, you got ADHD on lock. Absolutely. Thank you, Susie. We have a biblical mandate to love those who don't agree with us. Absolutely. And I try my best to. I try to demonstrate Christ likeness with people who disagree with me. I'm still going to read those dusty comments, though. I'm just going to say that. How are y'all talking about comic books, though? Y'all are funny. I love it. Yeah, let's just tell the truth. Like DC and Marvel have been so full of wokeness and terrible stuff. Yeah, I've been sorely disappointed in what they've been putting out. But so they just don't get my money. Now I did do a Dusty Comments unit earlier. It was actually email crime unit because I just haven't used the email crime unit yet. What's going on, Reform Brian? Good to see you. Grace and peace. It's by Big Man Comics. Okay, so there's a Dean Cain Lawman, and I'm super excited about it by Big Man Comics. Okay, cool. I love it. I think there's definitely room there for new or fresh comic book ideas. Actually, I got behind me ISOM #1, ISOM #2. I know I talked about that last year and earlier this year. Eric July of the Rippaverse came out with his own comic book line. I'm just impressed with the fact that he's been able to do this and keep putting out pretty good comics. I mean, again, you're talking about somebody with superpowers and all this kind of stuff like that. So you do have to suspend a little bit of judgment. But I'm like, hey, these are some really good comics and they're well drawn, well thought out. The new one, I had to say, the first one had a couple of pages in it that were adverts for various and sundry things in it. So it was like 96 pages, but like maybe 4 or maybe 5 of them were adverts. This one right here is nothing but pure. It's action from page 1 all the way to the end, and it's a thick book. So that's kind of cool, man. I want to give him credit for that. That's something dope. Did you see he get what? Wait, who? Wait, did you see? Dear Will Christian, did you see he is getting sued because of some fake journalist? I think you're talking about Eric July. Are you talking about Eric? Oh, they've been trying everything under the sun to stop Mr. July. And the bad thing is, if that's who you're talking about, if you're talking about Eric, the bad thing is that they might have guaranteed, oh, you are talking about Eric. If he's getting sued for some fallacious reason and some fake reason, they've guaranteed that the next book is going to be the biggest seller ever, because Eric's fan base is insane. They're out of control. They love Eric's project. So if that's the case, then they've guaranteed that thing's going to be a $5 million seller. I'm just telling you. Man, hold on. Oh yeah, I am still reading a book a week. Hey, I am still reading a book a week, and I just been reading slow. I don't know why, but I've been reading slow. So yeah, man, so this is his the first project. I saw him #1. It is if nothing else, it's well drawn. It looks fantastic, and so this is book #2, and I think I got he had several different cover options for all of them. So like this one, I think is cover B, and I think he had 4 altogether. I don't know why I didn't get the first one. But this is cover A for the first book, and they're well drawn and they're thick. Like this book is really a thick book. I'm like, great day. So anyway, it just goes to show, like, if you Give people what they want. People wanted a good story. And this is, I don't know why Disney, I don't know why Marvel, I don't know why DC can't figure this out. If you give people good stories, they really truly don't need representation. We don't need representation. We need good stories. Good stories. And I'll give you another example. And I'm sorry. All right. So okay, let me give you an example. Marvel Comics. And let me just tell you this, full disclosure. I was a Marvel comic fan as a little guy. I mean, middle school, I was a Spider-Man fan. Okay. I was a Spider-Man guy. As a little guy in middle school, I was about it. Okay. I really liked comics. And the laziness that we see in 2023 centered around Spider-Man should absolutely infuriate all old head, established comic book fans like myself. What I mean by that is, thank you so much, Winston. I appreciate you. What I mean by that is Miles Morales, aka Peter Darker, is literally Peter Parker just in blackface. That's all it is. I mean, his story literally runs parallel to Peter Parker. So much as Gwen Stacy, so much as Uncle Ben, how he got his spider powers, the na. But watch this. They're so lazy. How lazy are they, Jason? I thank you for asking. They're literally following along. And if you're not a comic book fan, sometimes what comic books will do is they'll do like a 6-part series that's centered around one topic, or maybe a 9-part or 12-part series. And it's called a story arc. And so there might be a story arc where Peter Parker fights against the Sandman. Okay. And let's say it goes on for 3 episodes. That's called a 3-episode story arc. And at the end of it, there's some kind of resolution. Sandman gets put in jail. Peter Parker saves the day, whatever like that. All right. Those are story arcs. And so the larger the story arc, sometimes they're called events. Well, an event might be 12, 15 books and 12, 15 books. And then it has what's called crossovers, where maybe it's not only Peter Parker and Spider-Man, it might go to the Amazing Spider-Man and Spectacular Spider-Man, and then even carry over into the Avengers, so on and so forth. It's called an event. All right. Now, the reason I'm bringing all of this up is in the 90s and early 2000s, there were lots of events with Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Well, once they introduced Miles Morales, they redid a lot of those events. And they're just literally, again, you can be mad at me because I call him Peter Darker or Peter Parker in blackface if you want to, but they're not even giving him an original story arcs. They're literally using the same story arcs from Peter Parker. And that's a laziness that I've talked about before. And I know some of y'all are like, no, this dude is over here ranting about comic books. The Clone Saga. Yes, that's the one I was talking about. Yes, Miles' family is still alive. That is but trust me, if they could have got away with it, they would have killed his parents. Trust me. But notice everything else is very similar. He's just Peter Parker. He's just black. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. He's just black. Everyone is literally Spider-Man now. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, he has his own. He has his own Venom. He has his own Carnage. He has, again, is nothing more. They're not being original. But my point is, rather than be original, DC, Marvel, Disney, fill in the blanks, because every single movie, comic book, television show that gets crazy pushback. The Rings of Power, fill in the blank, all of that, all of the Disney remakes that they've been doing. Every last one of them did not need to happen. They did not need to happen. I understand, but nobody asked for a little mermaid, a little black girl as Ariel. Nobody asked for it. And guess what? Nobody needed it. Nobody needed it. Nobody did. And therefore, that's why that movie didn't do as well as Barbie. They could have done an original character. And I've said this before. I've done literally an entire video looking at all of the characters that DC and Marvel own. They literally own these characters. They already own an entire pantheon of black characters. And then we even went as far to look at folklore from regions specifically like Asia and North Africa and other places like that, Latin America, South America, and see like there's tons of folk tale stories that have never gotten any superhero, never gotten a comic book treatment, never got a television show. So why is it that you have to do a black Ariel, Disney? Why? Why do you have to do a black Spider-Man? There's literally hundreds of characters that they could have done, and they didn't need a black Peter Parker. They didn't need it. The only reason is they're lazy. And then they'll get mad at you that you don't want to support their really bad projects. And don't tell me about representation, because nobody needs representation. What does representation do? In a fictitious world where somebody gets bit by a radioactive spider and they can climb on walls and shoot stuff out of their wrists, why do you need to see, or a little girl can sing underwater? Come on, explain to me why you need to see a black person in that role. The dude dresses up like a bat in the middle of the night. Come on, why do you have to have a black person do that? Ain't that racism? I mean, it's just stupid. Because you know why? Because the only characters that they view as valid are white characters. The only Superman that's valid is Clark Kent. The only Amazonian that's valid is Wonder Woman. The only mermaid that's valid is Ariel. Fill in the blank. That's it. They don't, but we know that's not true. There are countless other examples. Matter of fact, I did it again in the video. You don't need representation. There actually was a black mermaid that they could have used. She could sing. She was deaf. They had all the intersectionality boxes checked, but nope. They chose to take the white mermaid and make her black and then get mad at you that you didn't want to go watch it. How are we here? How did we get here? How did we get here? I don't even understand. But so long story short, I think they all are destined to fail because they're not giving people what they want. Now I'm going to say again, Eric is giving people what they want. They want to read a good comic. They want to read a good development of a character. So Eric's book is going to be a 3-part story arc. So the next one will be the end of that arc, and then he's going to go into another arc or maybe an event or whatever. But as it relates to this particular topic, why is Disney not doing that? Why is Marvel not doing that? Why is DC not doing that? Why do they keep rehashing and taking characters and changing their gender, swapping their ethnicity, making them some kind of intersectionality bingo participant? Why? When you have characters that you can use. And please tell me, convince me that I'm wrong when I say that the only characters that are valid are white characters. If it wasn't true, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. Now, and then we can also say, it's not true because if they took Black Panther and turned him white, y'all would be up in arms, up in a tizzy. So you know that there's got to be an issue. The reason why you wouldn't allow a white guy to be Black Panther, but you'll allow a black girl to be Ariel. DearWokeC@gmail.com. If you have a question, comment, concern about what I am saying. Oh, and I did a whole podcast last week talking about Star Wars and Star Trek. I'm going to save those because I used to really, and again, middle school, high school, I used to be team Next Generation. I love Star Trek. I loved it. I didn't like Deep Space Nine. I think once Star Trek, the Next Generation started to fade out, and Deep Space Nine and the others started taking prominence, I kind of left it alone. But I digress. I did a whole podcast. We were talking about the force is female type of situation, and again, they're going to struggle because people can only suspend reality to such a degree, and people are not going to suspend their reality that far, because you really got to suspend reality to believe some of the stuff that is transpiring in Star Wars, Star Trek now. Like, you have to really like disengage all understanding. Like, it's no longer you're telling a good story. It's literally intersectionality Olympics. And how can we be as intersectional as possible? Story be what it is, but we've got to hit all of the intersectionality boxes, and it's only going to cause them to fail. They're only going to struggle more. They're only going to struggle more. Jean-Luc Picard was a great character, and all they did was remove his teeth and made him this old man that is second and third and quadruple guessing his own self. And rather than the stalwart that we know him to be, or we liked him to be, they made him something else that was really just, nobody even recognized Jean-Luc. Like, who is this guy? He looks like Patrick Stewart, but he don't act like him. Who is this guy? I don't know who this guy is. And so, okay, I've never watched Japanese anime or whatnot like that, but I interviewed a artist here, an author here in Atlanta and in the Marietta area, who's doing his own comic book. And we got to get that out there too now. Thank you for reminding me of that. I got to get that episode dropped. So I did a comic book episode, and I interviewed a author about his comic book. I can get these up on the channel. So make sure you're watching it. But yeah, I've never watched them, but I'll have to check them out. Okay, so I see where you are. Where are you? Okay, I was hoping, I didn't watch Picard either. I did watch a couple snippets on YouTube. Same thing with Brave New Worlds or Strange New Worlds. That's Star Trek as well. Kind of peeped it out a little bit, trying to see what's going on. I got lots of questions about Strange New Worlds. But with Picard, I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to just be a deep dive into the mental theatrics that the first episode, at least, that Q had brought into the equation when he first brought the Enterprise, when he brought the Enterprise crew up on trial. I thought it was just going to be like a rehash of that. So I was a little bit, I was hoping that was it. I had to say I wasn't disappointed in the Borg episode. I thought it was kind of weird, again, that, Picard has a son, another son with Beverly Crusher. I thought that was strange. Spoiler alert. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I just thought that was kind of strange. The dates didn't work for me. I don't know where y'all going with that. Those dates are weird. But again, I don't think that many of the comic book or movies or even story shows rather are leaning on good stories. I think they're only relying on, if we can get enough boxes checked, people will come to watch. And there's a problem with that, because the people that want you to check boxes don't usually in droves come to support your project. And we've seen this in countless movies where they've done the intersectionality Olympics. They've got the gold medal, but nobody comes to watch it. Nobody comes to watch Indiana Jones. Nobody's coming to watch female James Bond. Nobody's coming to watch these things. But people came in droves to watch Top Gun. But people support things that do, in fact, speak to them. They don't need representation. But you are trying to bend over backwards for this micro fraction of a population that needs representation, that needs to feel some kind of way when they watch something, but they're not paying attention to the story. So therefore, the story doesn't drive it. It's the intersectionality. It's the diversity Olympics that you're feeding into, and they don't come to watch your show. And you could actually have the most diverse possible, and they don't actually watch it. Okay, so Jason, they bring back the Enterprise D for the last season of Picard, and people go nuts and forget that the whole show is garbage. Okay, that last season though, bro, it was nostalgia all over the place. So it definitely look. There's definitely a suspension of logic that you have to have in order to enjoy Star Trek, Picard, and all of them actually. But yeah, I got you. I totally get you. But I thought it was great. I was happy to see the whole the Next Generation crew. I was happy to see Enterprise D. I suspended a whole bunch of reality to enjoy it, and yeah, I now that was a clip. I actually watched the whole thing, but do you think we're convicting ourselves a la Romans because we don't want these women-led films and shows that we crave the male leadership that God designed in our entertainment? Yes, but I also don't think it comports with reality. It's not realistic. For example, I saw a clip from a show. I think it's called The Vikings or Vikings or something, and it was gruesome. So this guy, he was on his deathbed, and he got on the horse, and he was like, they sent him out to the enemy, and the enemy shot him, and he would not die. The guy was like not going to give up, and he raised his sword, and the horde of other Vikings came, and there was a ton of women. They even had kids. They even had children in the horde of Vikings to fight this established army. And I don't, in my mind, I was like, what are they fighting for? If the women and the children are here fighting, what's the purpose? What are they fighting for? I can understand men would be fighting to preserve their families, to protect their children, their lineage, their land. But literally, your lineage and your land are all, your lineage and your family are fighting alongside you. It just seemed really weird. And it seemed like, I don't believe that's what they were doing. I don't believe, sure. Was it possible? Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. Sure. It's very possible there was a woman Viking that was fighting. Sure. But that many of them though? I mean, because it was a lot. It was a lot of them. Is that really what it was? Really? So to me, I feel like they're removing, not only are they removing male headship, they're actually removing why we go to war in the first place. They're making it make no sense. All in an effort and attempt to win the intersectional Olympics and, be avant-garde, if you will. But I don't think it doesn't make sense. Now, we can also add to it that God designed for men to work these things out with fists and sometimes with other means. Okay. But it just doesn't seem to make sense. But what is the goal of that? Like, what are you trying to depict? That women are the exact same as men, that there is no difference between men and women, and that's not true. So I think it's interesting. Yeah, I just it just seems weird. Like, what are y'all fighting for? The men, am I fighting for my land? Am I fighting for my wife and kids? My wife is standing right next side of me. My kids are right here. I mean, literally, I almost want to find that episode. I have no idea. It popped up in my, it popped up in my feed, and I ran across. I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. And I don't know why I watched. It might have been 5, 6 minutes long, and I was just watching, like, wow, that guy's not gonna die. That dude is he is not dying. But all these women were there to fight. Like it seemed crazy. It seemed crazy. Now, does that mean now is this something new? No. Did Tolkien have women fighting? Absolutely. I mean, for crying out loud, there's women fighting and doing deeds of heroism in Scripture. So I'm not saying that it's a fluke. All I'm saying is that it's not common, and we're making it common. Oh yeah, women fighting all the time. No, they're not. That's not true. That's not how, that's not true. That's not what was going on. So, oh, yes, you are correct, Roscoe. Again, there is scripture that admonishes us and chastises us by claiming that our warriors will become women and a child shall lead you. And it's not a good thing. You are correct. No argument there at all. And so when you see, like, I was talking about the Strange New World episodes, and I'm like, wow, I haven't watched the show, like sat down and taken in like a whole season. I'm just seeing a couple clips, and their bridge is very diverse. Let's just say, I was like, that just doesn't make sense. So no, I think you make a great point, Roscoe. Excellent point. All right.